Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. I'll give you an injury update here real quick. James Franklin has strained MCL, and he'll probably be out for a few weeks. To what length, we're not sure, but that's what his status is right now. Mitch Morris will be out also for a few weeks. Has the same thing. That's the flavor of the injuries this year for some reason. Kind of goes in cycles like that. And then Jack Miners had knee surgery this morning. And so he had it scoped, and hopefully we can get him back in several weeks also. We'll see where that goes, and he had his knee cleaned up a little bit from that standpoint. Talking about Alabama, I think we all know the number one team in the country, and they're very deserving of that ranking. They got great players, and they're dominating their opponents. And I think it's for two reasons. They have great players, and they're very well coached. And so I got great respect for Nick and what he's done at Alabama. And that being said, we're excited about having the number one team in the country come here and play in Mizzou. And we're going to work real hard to play our best.
Trying to do maybe more than their job, and how do you kind of be able to guard against that pressing during games?
Well, I think there's an anxiety level that goes with it, the frustration, the continuity that we need is not there. And working very hard to get it, mixing and matching a lot of different players. I really feel bad for James, because James was, that first quarter he was in, he looked like, the James that we saw last year at the end of last year, and I really feel bad. He's just been through a lot. So disappointed for him. But we gotta have better continuity. And I think maybe kids might press a little bit. I think that might happen. I think that's natural because they want to do well. But we just got to practice better and get more consistency.
Corbin, after the game, said he was kind of battling nerves more than he was when he played against Arizona State. Is that kind of natural for a guy that's kind of thrown out there in a game?
I don't know. I didn't hear that, or I don't read that, so I didn't know anything about that. I know that Coach Yost talked to him. I would usually talk to the quarterbacks on Tuesday. You're thrown out there in that environment, and it's a very difficult position to play. I say it to everybody all the time. It's very, very hard to play that position. We would certainly ask a lot from our quarterbacks, and I think he'll be fine. He'll have to settle down, but I think he's very capable. And he's not the first quarterback that's ever had a tough day. Well, I just think when he plays, when he's an intense competitor, that's the way he is. And playing a quarterback position, that at times that's okay, but throwing, it's not. Throwing's like your golf swing. You got to be able to. You're going to have to get off balance, but you have to be able to balance yourself up with your feet. It's all about your feet and throwing. And if sometimes he gets a little quick with his feet, and that kind of misdirects the ball. It's amazing. People don't realize that your feet and direct the relationship with throwing a football and accuracy. But it's so very true and balance. So I think that's one area that that he's just got to. I think he was a little bit better at that before. And I think he did some good things, but there's a lot of little things that he needs to improve on, and most of them are very technical and wouldn't really be much to write about. But certainly, he has to play better.
You said after the game that you were going to talk yesterday about Mock's situation. Is there anything new there? What would it take? Corbin being hurt for him to play?
Well, Maddie's the backup quarterback right now. And right now, we would decide Thursday if we're going to play him. But right now, we don't have any intention on playing him. Okay, obviously, if there's an injury, that would come up. And I had one of my friends call and said, "You're going to have to burn Matty Mock's, red shirt." And I said, if he helps our team win, it's not burning it. Okay, that has nothing to do. If you play him for 2 plays and then play the rest of the year, that's burning it. So we just got to look at all the different possibilities. And I've already had a zillion friends text me with the helmet pops off. What are you going to do? So we will have an answer for that. Okay, I know that's a major concern of everybody's to get that taken care of, but. That's also a tough position to throw a freshman. We got a redshirt freshman and a freshman quarterback. It's a tough position to throw a young quarterback in, but that's what we have to do.
Speaking of that, Coach, earlier in the season, when Corbin did play, you talked about kind of knocking down the playbook, keeping things a little bit simpler. How different are things now that he's had a couple more weeks, Corbin has?
Well, I think we did quite a few things. I think Coach Yost, did back away from a couple things and try to make it a little bit simpler. I think we always do that, try to help the quarterbacks out the best. When I coached quarterbacks at Washington, I had the starters, and then if the starter got hurt, which never happened, but one time maybe for one game, what we did is I'd highlighted put our backup quarterback would play. I think all coaches do that and try to help them out the best they can.
Gary, looks like Marcus Lucas is down to number 2. Can you earn that back during the week, or?
Well, yeah, he's still going to play a lot, but it's very competitive between all those kids, and there's nothing, that's I expect him to come back and compete and play more consistent, and I think he's very capable of doing it.
Ole Miss had touchdown drives of 13 plays and 16 plays against Alabama. Was there anything that you saw there that provides a blueprint for moving the ball?
You saw 2 drives the entire year against those guys. I better go look at those again and again and again, huh? No, they got a couple drives going. They executed and got some plays, and Alabama's very impressive. Defensively, they're number 1 in the nation, almost every statistical category, and it's just very well coached, and they have a great system, and they have good players, and they play well. So, you got to execute, you got to make plays, and that's what you have to do. And it's obviously difficult, but that's the challenge, and that's also the fun about playing in a game like this.
They also put 8 men in the box and slowed Alabama's running game.
Yeah. I should probably just send you up to my coordinators, and you can take care of all that stuff.
I know you said you have an answer for this later this week, but one of the options, if a helmet pops off, Corbin, the TJ back there, Kendall back there, is that something that's...
Yeah, we'll have a plan for it. We'll have a plan.
I don't know how well you know Nick's program, but when you watch them or when you talk to him or hear him talk, do you see traces of the Don James influence that obviously is your background?
I would, Nick would have to answer that. I've read some things before. Nick has mentioned in his book, he talks about after they won the national championship at LSU. In his book, he mentions Coach James and playing for him and how significant he was. Nick never worked for Don like I did, but certainly played. And he had a huge, for me, and I think Nick too. Nick was a graduate. He's a year older than me. He was a graduate assistant when I was a student assistant. And we talked about coaching college football together. I remember being at the library once with him. He probably don't remember that, but just talking about getting into coaching and doing it as a career. And so I think Coach James, and I don't want to speak for Nick, but had a real influence on that for both of us. And he's disciplinarian, attention to detail, all those things, and he's very demanding. He has certain ways. He's a defensive coach. Coach James is a defensive coach, so that's their defensive backgrounds. And obviously, he's done a great job with that program.
With Marcus, he's obviously back on the depth chart. Is the hand injury anything that you think affects him in any way as far as being able to catch the ball?
Well, I will have to wait and see there. And I don't think, when you catch punch, you cradle punts anyway. You don't catch with your hands. So, hopefully we can get him back. He's obviously done a good job for us there, and had a nice run when his skin broke open. He had to have stitches. So we'll get a status as it goes. We expect him to be back playing, and we'll know a little bit more at the end of the week, kind of what he can or can't do.
What's it going to be like for Brad at center, redshirt freshman, hadn't played a lot against Alabama?
Well, it's for all those guys. And you look at Brad, and you look at all those guys haven't played. The interior has not. How about Evan? Too, and he's getting better and better. But for Brad McNulty, it's going to be playing against some great players, and that's a lot to ask of a redshirt freshman. But that's kind of just what presented, the problem that we've been presented with, and he'll go in there and compete and work, do a good job.
How do you prepare to face?
Well, I think what he does is he has to just focus on himself, and he understands he's playing a great player, and everybody can figure that out. Just look at the film. But I think you just focus on yourself, doing the best you can, and don't get too overwhelmed with all the other stuff.
Jerry, I guess you could kind of go on and on about issues you've got offensively, but is there things you see in the first half of the year that you think you can build, that you do well on offense consistently, that you think you can build around?
One thing we're not going to do, we don't make a lot of drastic changes, okay? That would be the kind of worst thing to do. We're not going to do that. you know, the continuity of the offense is frustrating for all of us. You know, the breakdowns, whether it's an offensive line breakdown or we drop a football, it's a bad pass. Moving a lot of people in and out. Defensively, we're hardly moving anybody in and out at all, and thank heavens, because our defense has been playing really, really well. And so we just got to work through it. I mean, I don't have anything magical here. You know, I've done this for a long time. And, you know, when you sit there, if you're struggling and you got the same players in there and you're working with them to get better and better and better, that's generally what happens. When you're moving as many people in and out that we have had, it gets a bit frustrating. But we're going to still coach the way we coach, do the things we do. And it certainly gets frustrating that we have not made the progress you want to make. But we're going to keep working hard to try to get better at.
But are there some things you've seen that have been?
Well, we've had flashes of being consistent. You know, I think our first 2 drives. You know, the start of this past game. You know, we went right down both. We didn't get sevens, which would have paid off remarkably well at the end of the game. But we moved the ball really well. It kind of looked like what we used to have been doing in the past. But then we moved 3 players out of that offense, and we got 3 more guys we just moved in. And so that's kind of where we're at, and at times we run the ball well, at times we throw the ball well. We're just not doing it consistent enough basis. And offense is all execution, defense all reaction, and offense is all execution. And it's just that's the beauty of football. It's very difficult to synchronize everything, and we got to do a better job coaching.
You used the pistol a little bit more than you had before. What were you kind of hoping to get out of that?
Well, you can do some different things from the pistol, from the standpoint of which way the ball can go. From that spot right there, you can go either way. And generally, if the ball's when we're offset back, there's some tendencies on the direction of where the ball can go. So we try to do some things out of that. But there's not a magic play or a magic formation or a magic backfield set that helps execution. That's not gonna help. If it was, I would do that.
When you have a young quarterback, how valuable can a guy like TJ be, who runs a lot of underneath routes and is a pretty reliable guy as far as catching the ball?
Well, I think he's very valuable. Someone you can go to, and also people see that too. So when they see that a particular player we go to a lot, and certainly on third downs or any time, they have a tendency to make sure that they would double cover them, or so sometimes that's not as easy as what you might think. But certainly, what helps a quarterback is to give him time to throw, and make some great tough catches and some great catches and catch consistently. In order to be a good throwing football team, you got to be able to play catch. And that sounds so simple, but you can't stop yourself with a bad throw or drop football. And you saw, like the other day, we stopped ourselves plenty of times. We had drops, and those kids are very capable. But I think you create a little anxiety a little bit too, and you get a little frustration, and all that's not good. But that certainly happens sometimes.
Somebody mentioned the pistol just a minute earlier. Obviously, Jerry got a lot of snaps in that. Back when you ran a more traditional, old school offense, is he a guy that you would have found like a lot of use for and able to?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of things with Jared. He's we use him as almost like a tight end sometimes. Certainly a fullback type guy. That's what he's like. So he's really done some good things to be able to help us out. And he's doing a good job. And his body type is something that really helps us do some of those things that we're doing.
After the game Saturday, Kip said that the game wasn't lost Saturday, but on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with like a lack of just excitement in practice. Would you agree with that, and how would you go about changing that?
Well, I didn't read that, so I thought we practiced pretty good last week. I think if he says you want to become a better football team, you practice better. That's always true. Okay, but overall, I thought we had pretty good practice last week.
How would you go about just practicing better? Is it just all the same players?
No, it's coaching, and it's kind of an attitude that you go out to get through practice, or you go out to get better at practice. Been doing this for a long time, so very consistent how we do things. We rarely have bad practice.
Is Doriel back, and if so, does he go right back into same role,
All the players go back in their original roles.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Bud Sasser, what he was able to do Saturday, and just are you looking to build it more
Well, he made a great play. I mean, it was obviously a great play, one much needed, and certainly he's looked well in practice and so on and so forth. So it didn't surprise me, because he's very capable, and we're fortunate to get him the ball, and so hopefully we can get him the ball too. But there's a lot of other guys out there also that are very deserving of it also. So that's just a consistency of throwing, a consistency of our passing game, which we don't have, that we certainly need.
Gary, going back to the offensive line, the young guys in there, inexperience going against one of the best defensive lines in the nation, things like that. Do you sleep well? Do they keep you up? Concerns over the interior.
I never sleep well during the season. Okay, ever. I don't care who we're playing. So, no, in specific to that, I mean, that's just we're just playing a great football team, and so, we'll try to help them out scheme wise as much as we can. But there's you can't avoid it. I mean, it's the line of scrimmage is how you play on both sides of the football is hugely important, and we just got several players in there that are young and inexperienced, and we'll work hard and compete.
Can you go back a little bit and just kind of retrace your relationship with Nick Saban?
Yeah, a little bit. Nick was, like I mentioned before, he's a year older than me, and we played in a championship football team for Kent State, and we never really hung out much. He had some guys in his class he hung out with, and I got guys in my class that I hung out with. But obviously we're friends. Just kind of went apart because he was on a different part of the country. I don't know, Seattle, and he was bouncing around in Houston Oilers and Michigan State, and then went down to. Then he's been all over the place. I just went a couple different places. I think Don James had a big influence on both of us. He came in a program that was down and out and built a championship team, and so it's interesting. And again, I do remember being in the library at Kent State University Library one afternoon talking to him, and we just talked about coaching in general and getting into coaching. I mean, you flip it, so many years later. I don't want to mention how many years later. To think that we, both had some, I've had a reasonable amount of success, and he's had great success. So it's kind of funny if you go back and look at that, which I hardly ever do.
He says you were eating lunch together when the shots were fired at Kent State shooting.
Yeah, well, he was at the, that was a very difficult time for for Kent, and I remember one of the great things about that, we won the championship and the only one in the history of the school. That kind of talk about a university that needed something tremendously positive to happen. That was there were people there, back then we called them hippies. I mean, that's what they were. That's just the way they were. And nice folks, a little bit different than I. And but you know what? They came to games and they were into it and excited, and and so we had all cross section of people. It was really pretty awesome. It was really neat to see that it united us. That champion football did. And I know that sounds trivial, but at that time that was. I was back in Kent, a little while back, and they have the memorials up and everything for all the stuff that happened there. So that was a very turbulent time, not only for Kent State University, but for our country.
So neither you nor Nick were hippies?
I was probably half hippie.
Did he cover you much in practice?
What's that?
Defensive back, wasn't he? Did he cover you much?
We play mostly zone coverage. I'm not saying he's not very good at man coverage. He probably is a great man coverage. I don't want to get him upset. But Nick's a great competitor. Very intense. I think we're both a lot like that in a way. So he's remarkably successful. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I knew he'd be successful. It didn't. It doesn't. He's very smart. He knows what he's doing. And he's works for some really great people. And I think Belichick has had huge influence on him. That mentioned that to me. What's that?
Did he ever try to hire you?
No, I was a head coach. I've been a head coach about the same time he was, so that never. I got, interestingly enough, to get my job at. I interviewed for Bowling Green job, which I coached at in Kent. In December, we were playing Iowa in the Rose Bowl, but I interviewed at both those jobs and I didn't get them. And then he left. He was at Kent, he was at Toledo for 1 year, and then he went with Belichick as coordinator. And he called me, and I just got back and just started skiing. I was back in Seattle, and he called me and said he was leaving Toledo, and he said he'd get me an interview. And he said, he said it's a really good job. He said he's got new facilities and everything. If I'm interested, and I said, yeah. He said I can't get you a job, I can get you an interview. I said that'd be great. And honestly, in this business, maybe I never got a shot. I mean, I had a place I worked for. I must have really impressed them. A place that I played must have really impressed them too. Didn't get the job. My wife said that she went back to Rover's class, and she said that she taught in Seattle. She goes, well, I'm going to be here forever, because if he can't get hired there, he'll never get a job. So, I was fortunate enough to be able to get the job. And you know what? You have to have a shot. There's a lot of people out there that are good enough to never get the shot. They just don't get it. And I was fortunate to, for him to put my name in and have an opportunity.
You mentioned that story a few times. Was there ever a point where you started to legitimately wonder if that shot would come?
A little bit, I was at, Washington for 12 years, and my big thing is I just wanted to go to the right place. That's what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to leave just to take a head coaching job. I wanted to go to a place that I thought we could win. And so, you never know. And there's a lot of guys I know that never been head coaches. They're very capable of being. It's like guys coaching high school football. I know some high school football coaches, in this town here in the state of Missouri and St. Louis, Kansas City. They're good enough to be college football coaches, but just don't get the opportunity.
Coach, your team has given up 137 points on the season, and 110 of those points have come in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. I'm sure you've looked at this. Have you reached any conclusions about the significance of that, or is there a pattern there?
Well, I just think we got to do a better job. So.
Saban says that he got into coaching because his wife was a year younger. Don James twisted his arm at that point. Otherwise, he was thinking about selling cars for a living.
Yeah, with his father, I think did like that. I don't know about all that. I know he probably went and talked to Coach James about the profession at the time, and I could see him running a business. That's something that he would have done if he wouldn't have coached. But obviously, it served him well.
Would you buy a car from Nick Saban?
Huh? Never. Never.
Why not?
Okay. Thank you.